All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with Bart Henderson. Bart, welcome to the show, man. So awesome to have you with us.
Yeah, Kevin, so good speaking. It's been wonderful connecting over the past month. So I'm really happy to be talking with you today.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to do a shout out here for you because, you and I, well, let me start. I'll give a shout out to Jessica and the folks at the podcast guest platform because that's how you and I met.
That's
And I
right.
am just so grateful to them and to Jessica because, man, she has just sent me some amazing guests for this show. And I know this is going to be no exception. And you and I, we already connected and got to know each other a little bit. And then after that conversation, you had asked me about the podcast and that, Kev, do you have a logo for it and all that? And
Right.
I'm like, yeah, we got a logo. And you were like, can I send it? Can you send it to me? I'm like, sure, I'll send it to you. And then I was communicating with a person on your team. And then in less than 24 hours, she sends me this message and she's like, Kev, here, go check this out.
Yeah.
And like, there's this full-blown merch store with
Yeah.
like sweatshirts and hoodies and shirts and jackets and coffee cups and it's all got my logo on it. And it's like they're not it's not all just the same thing. It's like you made variations of it and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
And
so cool. It blows people away when they see it, especially the speed at which we do it.
yeah,
It's one of those things where we can get it up in 24 hours, but it took 10 years of my life to get to be able to do that, you
yeah,
know? Uh,
yeah.
so it's
I was so blown away, Bart, and I
cool.
am just, and I was telling you before we hit the record button, I was like, I gotta go. I'm gonna go get me a sweatshirt. I'm gonna get me the coffee cup, so now I can, have that while I'm doing the podcast and stuff, And so,
Oh, looking forward
and
to getting you all decked out.
that's right. And
Yeah.
so, and for anybody listening, man, you know what I'll do? I'll include a link to my store with the show notes for this
Oh,
podcast
cool.
too.
It's a great idea.
And so if you guys want to check that out and you're like, man, that's
Yeah.
really cool. Well, maybe Bart, you can maybe set up a store for other folks too if
Yeah,
they
we'll
want.
offer a total free setup for any of your listeners. So anybody who wants to, get a free company store for their, company or members or anything like that, happy to do the free setup.
Awesome, awesome. And even I see the shirt that you're wearing
Yeah.
is like your one of your companies and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
we actually printed this through one of those stores.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That's
cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do is I want to start by turning it over to you. I was so impressed with our just our last conversation and like, man, you have just got a lot of experience in business and in a diversity of experience is what impressed me.
Thank you.
And I am just really excited to like have you share a little bit about what you do and who you serve and what inspires you most about the work you do and the impact you're making in this
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah.
let's just start there, Bart, and give us some of the backstory too.
Yeah. I love that last piece you said, which is what inspires you, because that's
Yes,
that's what
yes.
that's what gets me going more than anything. So what do I do? Um, First thing that I always start with is I'm a husband and a father.
Yeah,
So a lot of people will say I'm a lawyer, an engineer, whatever, and that's great. But the things that matter to me most are that I'm a husband and a father. So married to my wife Christina. I've got two boys, Brody and Callaway, two doggies. We have lots of fun all the time. So that's kind of the core of my life, and then everything goes from there. So I am an attorney by trade. I don't practice per se anymore. I'm licensed, but I don't practice anymore really. So I'm an entrepreneur. I work on projects with good people, right? And so that could be angel investing in different products or inventions or companies, or it could be investing in very specific industries like landscaping or the golf industry. As far as the things I really love and that gets us kind of up in the morning, my wife and I built the company Henderson Promo. So that's promotional products. We put logos on anything, as you talked about, right?
yeah,
T-shirts, jackets, golf bags. So that's printing on things like this, right?
yeah.
So that was the first thing that gave us the opportunity to build everything else. I actually started that company when I was in law school. I was printing my T-shirts at night when I would in between studying and law school and things like that. And then I'd wake up in the morning, go meet my study group, and then go through the day, and then come home and print T-shirts at night again.
Wow. Wow.
So that's that company. I've been doing that and investing for years now until I found, I thought that business was one of my passions. Then I thought investing was one of my passions. And the last 2.5 years, I found like what I really think is my passion, and
Okay.
that's helping men grow in all areas of life. So I run the Agora Guild, which is a men's network. So what we do is we take men together and we surround them with other high achieving men who want to achieve in all areas of life, right? So this could be family, faith, fitness, finance, anything, right? And so it's not enough to say, oh, this person's financially well off. Well, if you have $20 million, but you're 45 pounds overweight and have a bad marriage, that's not necessarily a good place to be, right? If you again have all the money in the world, but you're struggling in other things, business is always on your mind and you can't sleep and you're not healthy and things like that, then it's not a good place to be. So we're all about taking guys, putting them together and pushing each other forward in all areas of life. I mean, we do it in various ways, but we've had massive breakthroughs. One guy lost 75 pounds.
Wow.
Another guy started talking to siblings he hadn't talked to in 2 or 3 years. We've had a guy triple his business over a year's time. Just really huge breakthroughs. And it's so simple. It's just by taking men that were in one boat and moving them to another boat. And I could talk more about that in a second if you want, but that's kind of a quick overview, if you will, of the types of things I like to do at this particular point.
That's awesome. And what's really cool is there is no hiding your passion for what you do. I mean, you like me, we're Bart, we are just two really blessed guys because
Totally.
every day, I mean, yeah, entrepreneurs, problems come up, challenges come
Oh,
up,
yeah.
being resourceful is
Yep.
part of being an entrepreneur. And so like
Right.
for me, after 30 years of doing it, that's how I grow,
Yeah.
is by solving problems and stuff.
Totally.
But every day, you and I get up and we get to spend our time doing stuff that just totally jazzes us.
That's it. It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
like what else could you ask for, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, it's never like, oh, I gotta go do this.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
There's
awesome.
never that
I like to
Monday
call
feeling.
it, so I've kind of through some of the talks and things that I've done in the past, I like to call it a 7 day a weeker. Like I'm not living for the 2 days. I'm not living for the weekend like everybody else. I'm a 7 day a weeker. I wake up and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Let's have a fun day, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And you're right. Yeah. That, because so many people, they do live for the weekends.
Oh
And
yeah,
on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, they just got that pit in their stomach. They're like, oh,
totally.
back to it again tomorrow for a whole nother week.
I
I'm
know.
like, man, I couldn't even imagine that.
I know. I
It's
know.
so-
It's really, and a lot of guys actually come to our men's group with that exact problem. And we've had guys who have quit their jobs they've had for 10 years or something like that just to start their dream job. We just had a guy this week who's had a job for a long time who just finally got a new job that he's really excited about. So, it's things like that where once you have the support around you and the network of people to say, hey, go try this, go do this, then you actually start doing things maybe you never pictured you would do before, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now that we've got a little bit of context set here, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I'm going to
Cool.
reiterate the question around relationships for the benefit of our listeners. So, Bart, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who
Mhm.
completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Right. Um, that's great. And I'm looking forward to talking more about relationships. As far as the introduced to a person or persons, in this particular year, 2025, I think it's really almost the most critical thing I would say is having a contrarian mindset.
Okay.
Um, not not following the crowd, not listening to what society is telling you, not listening to what doctors have to say per se or nutritionists, because it seems like everyone's got it backwards nowadays. And so to your your question, introduced. I mean, the person that really comes to mind would be my great uncle.
Okay.
Actually, his birthday's coming up. Today's May 1st. His birthday's May 8th. He's gonna be 82,
Wow.
and um, from a very young age, he's a professor at Brown University, 40 plus years before he retired. And I can remember being just like a really young kid, whenever you can first remember, I guess, 4 or 5 years old. And he just always taught me from a really young age to think against the grain, to question conventional thoughts. And so that has been the framework of which I take towards everything,
Okay.
really. And like I said, in 2025, I think it's more important than ever because you've got like all these people screaming when it comes from political on the left, and you've got all these people screaming when it comes to political things on the right. And I don't think the left or the right are doing anybody any favors. I think it's important to talk to people, to hear other points of view, to take things and flip them 180. Hey, did you ever think about this? And let's just talk about the complete opposite view. And so having the contrarian thinking, I mean, just pounded into me. He almost taught me in the Socratic method, if you will, right? Which is what you do in law school, which is essentially eliciting the thoughts and the questions out of yourself rather than just giving the answer. And so uh, every time someone approaches me, they'll say, "Oh, well, we have to do it that way," and I'd be like, "Well, why do we have to do it that way?" And then sometimes people will debate me, and I'll actually be in total agreement with them, like 100% agreement. But I'll just take the other side, and at the end, I'll be like, "Oh, I actually don't believe that. I just wanted to expand your thoughts," you
Uh-huh.
know. So my uncle put that kind of seed, if you will, into my brain young in life. And I approach it like that with everything I do, whether it's businesses, whether it's growth. I always say, well, what like challenge me? Give me the other side. I just had a conversation the other day about a very hot topic issue in society. And I said, I know you have totally opposing views. Give it to me. Just hammer me with your views. I want to hear it. I want to understand it. And so, if it weren't for my uncle, um, who knows how much of the road less traveled I would have taken, as the Robert Frost poem goes, right?
Yeah.
So that relationship really changed my entire life,
Wow.
and I'm grateful for it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we hit the record button, I think you mentioned that there was two people that you wanted to talk about. So I want to make sure and give you the opportunity to
Yep.
talk about whoever else you wanted to talk about as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, well, I mean, to the same grain, I had a professor in my undergrad,
Okay.
Professor Wang, Mbao Wang, and he instilled the exact same thing, which was even if you're reading it in books, even if you're all your authority figures, and he went as far as to say, "I'm your professor. Don't trust what I'm telling you right now,"
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I just think it's so good because nowadays, a lot of notions of what people have about health out there are just so backwards and so wrong because doctors haven't been educated in regards to nutrition recently. And so, whether it's health or whether it's things you should uh, expose your children to, or whether it's schooling, or whether it's, for instance, the convention of being able to just give your kid an iPad and leave them in the corner. Like these are the kind of things that me and my wife are always going, well, should we do this? If yes, why? If no, why? And so I really appreciate Professor Wong and really my uncle for building those thoughts in my entire life.
Yeah. And you, because of that, I can only imagine the number of fascinating conversations that you have found yourself in over all these years, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
And I know one of the things that you had shared because you and I uh, I mean, hosting this podcast is such a great example. I love talking with entrepreneurs.
Right.
And so hosting this podcast allows
Yep.
me to talk with some amazing entrepreneurs. And not only do I get to talk with them, I get
Mhm.
to learn from people who are just absolutely world class at what they do.
Yep.
And I know one of the things that you mentioned to me that there was a season of your life
Yeah.
where you were attending 10 networking events every single week.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to just dig a little deeper with you because you are a just you're a real not just not a networker, but you're just really brilliant at creating relationships and stuff. And so
Thank you.
I just want to kind of give you leeway to share just more of kind of what you've learned in the process over the years because
Yeah.
you are absolutely brilliant at it too and stuff.
Thank you. Really. It's funny. 10, I hear that number now and I'm like, God, that's
A
really a
heck
big
of a clip.
number. Yeah. So I used to hit 10 networking events a week. Like that was the goal. When we were growing our business, the goal was like I can stop scheduling things when I know it's 10 a week. Um, so we're a part of, every chamber of commerce, every business group, every networking group, everything, here in the greater New Jersey tri-state area. And so for years, I mean, that's what I did for the first 2 years. I mean, well, maybe not the first 2 years, because it took about 6 months to learn a lesson, which is a lot of people in my generation and younger, they have this notion that like you can do online ads and just grow your business and blow it up. Now, don't get me wrong. If you got unlimited money and a super expertise in sales funnels and marketing, online business is phenomenal and can, really blow up a business in a meaningful way. But when it comes down to starting and growing a business without a massive marketing budget, I don't think there's anything better than belly to belly marketing. I don't think that I mean, in fact, I tried it. I did the marketing online and just wasn't getting results, right? And I said, well, I got to do a networking event. I started going to networking events and I started, seeing the numbers change in the business. And so, as soon as we had the opportunity, my wife took over the company and I did all the networking. And I would go to 10 networking events a week, generally speaking. I didn't always hit 10, but I would try to. Breakfast events, lunch events, dinner events, I mean, everything. And what we found was the more events I was going to, the more our business was growing. It was really that simple. And so I think that I started in an unconventional manner, meaning I really wanted to show value to people more than anything. So what I saw, the number one mistake I saw at networking events is I would see people come to events and they'd be like, "Oh, hi, my name is, whatever," and hand you a card, a business card. It's like,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
I don't know if I want your business card, like why are you handing me your business card? So literally they would just hand you the business card right away. So the first thing that I kind of formulated was an interesting question, which is not what do you do, but I started asking people, well, what do you like to do for fun?
Uh-huh.
Uh, and people will be like, uh, for fun. Well, I don't know what I don't I like to work. It's like, no, no, no. I didn't ask you about work. I said, what do you like to do for fun? Do you have kids? Do you boat? Do you golf? What is it like, right? And so just that conversation immediately let me in to people's lives a little different than others.
Yeah.
So when someone says they like scuba diving, you go, oh, I like scuba diving too. It's different than someone going, I'm an insurance broker, I'm a mortgage broker, I'm a realtor, I'm a, whatever it might be. It's like, oh, scuba diving, cool. You connect on that and you start building a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that was important. The other thing was leading with value. So I still to this day don't really ask people for a sale. I don't say like, hey, will you use me? Please place an order with us. I've never done anything like that. I give, give, give. I mean, I've seen this on some of your podcasts before, actually, that you've talked about this, which is the more value you give, the more you get back. I mean, people have this notion. It's so funny. I've heard people debate, like, does karma exist, right? You've heard people debate this. And to me, like, there's no debate. Uh, if you give somebody 10 referrals, human nature is they're going to want to give you a referral or two back. Like that's karma, you know? Karma exists. It's very obvious, right? So, um, I'll just end with one thing, which is a lot of young people tell me, well, I don't have anything to give. Like when I go out to network. When I started networking, I was really young. I mean, I don't know, couldn't even tell you how old I was, but I didn't have anything to give. I didn't have money. I didn't have a big company. I didn't have, certain resources. And so a lot of young people say, I can't go networking. I don't have anything to give. So what I figured out very early was I can give connections. I can connect people with one another. And so I'll give you just a very, very simple thing that happened just a couple months ago was, years ago, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I met somebody who does commercial blinds. Like, they put in window treatments in commercial buildings only, right?
Okay.
Um, and so I have a list. I keep a list of every single person that I've ever met. Any card I get, I answer every single card at a networking event, and I keep a list of everyone I do, 1, 2, and 3 industries that they're in. And so I run into someone a couple months ago that goes, I'm building a building. It's done. It's a big, really nice building that they purchased or that they built from the ground up. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, we're just trying to get the finishing touches done, and it's killing us. We just need to get the thing rented out. I was like, well, what kind of finishing touches? They're like, we can't find anybody for blinds and for da, 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 da. And I said, I got someone for you. I went back to my list, connected the person with the person, and boom, now they're doing the commercial blinds,
Yeah.
right? And so it's all about just making the connection. You have connections. Maybe you have an uncle who owns a plumbing company. Maybe you have, a friend who's an insurance agent. Whatever it is, you can always make connections to start to foster. And out of that will grow and grow and grow your network as you are a master of doing. I mean, you don't need to hear these lessons and these things that I've went through, but a lot of whenever I lecture to younger people, they always have that fear that they don't have anything to give.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was such a beautiful example that you gave, because the person that you have that runs the blind business where they're installing blinds in commercial. I mean, I know that they really appreciated the referral and stuff, but at the same time, the other guy, he's pulling his hair out. Because
Yeah.
he's just like, man, I'm just trying to get this building finished so we can get it rented. That's a very real problem. They're losing out on revenue, but
Yep.
probably even costing them revenue, because
Right.
having the building not rented is not a good thing.
That's it.
But they need to get these finishing touches done, and you just helped him solve a big problem and stuff.
And
And
and particularly like that person who has that building, uh, very well connected, wealthy individual who to help solve a problem that goes a long way for the future, right? To be able to say, hey, oh, this person helped me out there. And it's simple. Anybody can help people in that sense, so long as they keep a list and connect the dots.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggie right there. And the whole I got a kick out of when you were talking about, passing out business cards, because that is like
Yeah,
so old school,
I know.
and
I
it
know.
doesn't work. It doesn't
No.
work. We don't, nobody wants you get home, and I get it. And a lot of people still think this way, that they think that being in a networking situation, it's a finite event, a finite experience. You only
Right.
got so much time. So I gotta make hay while the sun is shining. I gotta connect with as many people as fast as I can.
Yep.
And so that therefore they're handing out business cards and collecting business cards.
Yep.
And they get home and they're like, my goodness, I don't know who a single one of these people
Totally.
on these cards are. They don't remember anyone because they made the connection with no one. They just collected business cards.
Boom. That's exactly right. They
Yeah.
didn't connect with anybody. They just
Yeah.
collect. That's well said. They didn't connect with anybody. They just collected business cards.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that also goes to something which I think about often, which is a lot of times people will start networking. They'll go to one or two events and they'll be like, this is a waste of my time. Like literally, I've had friends where I'm like, if you want to grow your business, go network, and they'll go to one event, they'll go to two events, and they'll say, Bart, total waste of my time. Wrong quality of person, not the right clients, not the, whatever it might be. And, there's no science behind what I'm saying other than from my point of view, it's like 8 out of the 10 networking events you go to could be a waste of time, but the two that aren't a waste of time are worth it. And so to me, it's kind of like 20% of them, you meet the right person, you make the right contact, and it's worth it. But what is it? You got to kiss a lot of frogs until you get the prince or whatever it is people say. So, put in the time, go to multiple events. Don't just give up just because you didn't have results after one or two events.
Yeah. 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 That is some great, great insight right there. And I mean, so what would you say? Because I've even invested a lot in like in higher end groups,
Mhm.
mastermind groups and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, whether it's, 25, 50,000, I think the highest price point on one that I joined was 70,000 for a year.
Yeah.
And in, and I've been in those groups for years.
Yeah.
But yet a lot of other people will go to those groups and they have a different experience than I do. and
Right.
and, and especially when they're investing
Yeah.
25, 50,000, they're like,
Yeah.
man, I really want this to be worthwhile.
Right.
And what would you say to somebody who's invested and going to those things and maybe not getting the kind of results that they really want to get, and maybe not making the kind of connections they really want to make with people?
It's interesting. A couple things come to mind. Like one is definitely engagement, right? I mean, are you engaging enough? Are you going to things? Are you making yourself available? Are you giving it the time uh, that is necessary? Now, it's funny because one of the excuses I actually hear from people is, well, I don't do things unless I'm all in, right? I don't do things unless I'm all in. People say all the time. And so sometimes that's almost an excuse, right? But oftentimes what's happening is people want things done for them rather than them taking the initiative, I find. So for instance, you pay 25 grand to be a part of a group. You're going to the events, but you're not texting, calling, or messaging anyone outside of that event, right? Or you get the business cards and now you're not actually following up with those people. So, I think the difference is you're someone who likes to explore relationships, who likes to foster things, whereas those people, they might see it as a drag. They might see it as a waste of time. They might just not be putting the time in like you are to foster those relationships. My biggest piece of advice in any group that anybody's a part of is make sure you're leveraging it, right?
Yeah.
There's ways you can leverage it, whether it's leveraging the individual members, whether it's leveraging it by getting other people to join and get value out of it, whether it's leveraging it for your business, for your personal life, but like you have to decide what you're going to do. You can't just show up. You can't just show up to a meeting or well, worse than that, a lot of times people won't show up and then they'll say, "Well, I paid 25,000. I didn't get anything out of it." Okay, well, you paid 25,000. There were 22 meetings this year. You came to two. So what did you expect to get out of it, right? Um, so it's a tough, I mean, it comes down to being like a truth sayer, if you will, or whatever the term would be, which is someone's got to be that friend, that person who's tough and hard to go, look, you didn't get anything out of it because you didn't put anything into it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, I put money into it. Okay, great. That's all you put into it, though. You didn't
Yeah.
put your effort. And so I would say if you're going to go in, you got to go in to a degree and make sure you know what you want out of it. It's tough because it's different for every group. There's different types of groups. There's different expectations,
Yeah.
whether it's a business group or a growth group or whatever it might be. But I would have different advice for different groups, I think.
Totally. Totally. Well, and that's some really good advice that you just gave, that just making the financial investment alone is not enough.
Right.
That alone is, I mean, you invest in any product, a book, a
Right.
course, whatever. If you make the investment and that's all you do,
Yeah.
it's pointless.
That's a
You
great
know?
point. That's a
So,
great point. Yeah.
so
You could have a library filled with the best books in the
yeah,
world
yeah,
and thousands of dollars. But
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're not going to implement, it's not going to do anything.
That's
So
right. That's right.
that's a great
And
point.
and we've got to show up. We've got to interact with other people. And it doesn't have to be this thing of trying to make hay while the sun is shining and trying to zip around the room. In fact, I was at a seminar like 3 years ago. I went to this 3 day thing, and this friend of mine, she was like really excited to be there because she's like, Kevin, I know what a networker you are. And she goes, and I just want to see, I'm just going to watch you for the 3 days that we're there. I'm going to see how you do what you do, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And she was blown away because at the end of that, we went out to dinner the last night. And she's
Mhm.
like, she goes, I expected you to just be zipping around and just talking with everybody.
Right.
And it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
You just had these long, in-depth conversations with a small amount of people here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I was like, that's how it is. I don't try to connect with everybody there. I just go there with the intention of I'm going to connect, over a 3 day period. If I make meaningful connection with 4 or 5 people in that 3 day period, man, I'm golden. I'm totally good with that.
Yeah,
And
that's so much more meaningful
yeah,
than
yeah,
randomly connecting. I have one friend who has a really interesting strategy for what he does when he goes to networking events. He goes up to the host right away, whoever the host is, talks to them and says, you know, who are the four people in this room you think I should meet?
that's
And it's a
good.
great approach, because it's like, okay, this is who I have to talk to before the end of the night,
Yeah,
which is also another great tip.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but you're so right. It's not about just quantity. It's all about quality.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Really.
Well, Bart, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. For anybody that's listening to this, going, man, Kev, I really like Bart. I like who he is. I love how he shows up. How can they find out more about what you guys are doing? Any websites, any
Yeah.
resources we can share?
So we have agoraguild.com. That's agoraguild.com. Phenomenal group. I can't tell you how much I grow every single week just from hearing the things that these guys say. It's really a great network of men who push each other for more. So agoraguild.com. You can find me on Instagram. I think it's Bart Henderson ESQ. That's BartHendersonESQ,
Okay.
is my Instagram. And then, anybody could reach out to us. My Agora Guild email is bh@agoraguild.com.
Okay.
So love to connect with anybody. Love always talking about how to take life to the next level. There's always areas people want to focus on, right? Whether it's they want more faith in their life, more family, better fitness, better finance. I mean, there's always stuff. And it's so great to connect with guys and meet like-minded guys who want to talk about this stuff. We have all these subgroups, like we have family subgroups and we have health subgroups and we have real estate subgroups, like investing subgroups, all sorts of cool stuff. So love to talk to anybody who's interested in being surrounded by other men like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Bart, any last thing you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
I guess I'll say what I say at the end of every Agora Guild meeting, which is do something kind to make someone else's life better today. So could be something small, could be holding open a door, could be buying a coffee for somebody, or one thing that goes a really long way is just giving somebody a compliment. So I think if we all do one thing, then that can go a long way to make the world a little bit of a better place. So really, really great talking as always, Kevin, and I'm looking forward to talking more in the
For
future.
sure. Well, thanks again for taking the time to do this, Bart. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you.